My name is Kiana. I am presently the world authority on the Eskimo Yo-Yo. I have here with me today 3 different kinds of yo-yos. I have one here which is cone-shaped, made from the hair seal. I have one here made from mucklucks, also made from the hair seal. And a third, a toy version, which I will introduce later on. The Eskimo Yo-Yo is composed of 3 parts: the handle, the string, and the orbiters, long and short. The first trick is Eskimo orbit. What you'll do is take and twirl the longer orbiter counterclockwise to me, but it'll be clockwise to you. Now, when it reaches 9 o'clock to you, I am going to twirl the shorter orbiter in the opposite direction to achieve Eskimo orbit. Eskimo orbit. Once in a while, the orbiters will hit each other while you're in Eskimo orbit, like so. That's okay. Recover and go on. Hand switch. The first step is to achieve Eskimo orbit. Switch hands. Switch hands. And switch hands. Eskimo orbit, hand switch. Single floor pickup. The object of single floor pickup is to put your orbiters on the floor like this. Then you reach down, grasp the handle, then raise up, and in one jerking movement, achieve Eskimo orbit. Place the orbiters on the floor. Grasp the handle like this. Now, remember now, the secret to a single floor pickup is to give it a nice jerk when you raise up and achieve Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Single floor pickup, Eskimo orbit. Jackknife. Pretend that we're in Eskimo orbit in a vertical motion. Then we go to our side motion, horizontal, then back to vertical. Now let's achieve Eskimo orbit. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. Jackknife. Pendulum start. The object here is to take the longer orbiter and rock it back and forth until it approaches 9 o'clock. Then at this point, what you're going to do is drop the shorter orbiter and jerk in a vertical motion and achieve Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Pendulum start. For review of pendulum start, remember now, you rock it back and forth until it reaches 9 o'clock over here. Then you're going to drop the shorter orbiter. And when you do that, you jerk in a vertical motion and achieve Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Eskimo orbit. Dead start. The object of dead start is to start it from a still position like this in front of you. Now what you do is take and jerk it like this. And when you jerk it, the orbiters are going to hit each other. Then you're going to create a movement. You jerk it again, and you achieve Eskimo orbit. Here we go. A jerk. Eskimo orbit. Dead start. One more time for dead start. Remember now, a little jerk of your wrist till the orbiters hit each other. Then you achieve Eskimo orbit. dead start. Horizontal Eskimo orbit, loop the chair legs. What I'm going to do is assume horizontal Eskimo orbit. Then what I'm going to do is loop the orbiters around the chair leg, both of them. And then I'm going to give it a little jerk backwards and assume horizontal Eskimo orbit. Horizontal Eskimo orbit, loop the chair leg, loop the chair legs, horizontal Eskimo orbit. Half table start. Now, the object is to set your orbiters on the edge of a table, just like this. You come up in approximately a 45-degree angle, and then you assume Eskimo orbit. Let's try it. Eskimo orbit. Let me show you half table start again. Half table start. Overhead Eskimo orbit. Now the object of this is to do Eskimo orbit, but horizontally over your head. Okay? What you do is get the longer orbiter. It's going to be over your head like this, twirling, counterclockwise to me, but clockwise to you. When it reaches 9 o'clock over here, I'm going to twirl the other orbiter in the other direction and assume overhead Eskimo orbit. Okay, and now a side view. I'm going to do it again. Watch the action of my wrist. This is tabletop over the head start. What you do, take your orbiters, put them on an edge of a table just like this, and you grasp the handle and you pull it in a 45-degree angle and assume overhead Eskimo orbit. Overhead Eskimo orbit. For review. This is around the world, overhead Eskimo orbit. One more time. Twirl around fist start. You twirl the orbiters around. The longer orbiter will strike your fist, and you give your fist a jerk in the opposite direction, and you assume Eskimo orbit. Eskimo orbit. This is a side view of twirl around fist start. This is horizontal dead start. To perform this, you extend your arm out like so. dead start. Now, you're going to go back and forth and perform horizontal Eskimo orbit. Horizontal dead start. One more time, horizontal dead start. Horizontal toss start. You hold your orbiters like this. You throw them in a horizontal position, catching it when it comes back down as near to the handle as possible. And now again, a side view of horizontal toss start. Behind the back, loop the foot, reverse directions. Loop the finger, reverse directions. You twirl your orbiter around. Loop your finger. Come back around. Eskimo orbit. Again, a side view. Twirl around start. You hold one orbiter like this. You rock it a couple times. Twirl it around like so. Catch the handle and assume Eskimo orbit. Horizontal floor pickup. You put the orbiters out on the floor, kind of off to the side of you. Reach down, pick up the handle, and come back like this and do horizontal Eskimo orbit. Let's go for the side view of horizontal floor pickup. This is drop-off table start. You take your orbiters like so, put them on the edge of the table. You pull them off so that they both drop off at the same time and assume Eskimo orbit. Again, the side view. Eskimo orbit. This is a real fun trick. Horizontal table start. You place your orbiter on the table like this. You pull your handle away in this angle and you assume horizontal Eskimo orbit. This is the same trick, but you pull it off the table in opposite directions. You pull this way. Twirl around Eskimo orbit. You take the Eskimo Yo-Yo like this, holding a shorter orbiter in one hand. Twirl it around, catch the handle, and assume Eskimo orbit horizontally. There are many tricks that you can do with the Eskimo Yo-Yo. For example, I just picked this one up. You hold it out in front of you, you jerk it up, catch the handle, and do Eskimo orbit. This is Kickstart. This is a little different from all the others that you have done. You hold this out in front of you, bend over a little bit, getting ready to balance yourself on one leg. You take your left foot, kick the orbiter, the longer one, and assume Eskimo orbit. Let's do that again from a side view. Here's one that's very simple, but it's an awful lot of fun. I call this loop the leg. Let's try something else, a little different. Here's one, belt horizontal. You loop this around your waist, get the handle, pull it out, and assume horizontal Eskimo orbit. This is what I call over and under. This is something that I consider expert, but you're on your way. You can have a lot of fun with the Eskimo Yo-Yo. And you can do a lot of tricks as you go along. Remember, it takes practice, practice, practice. Who knows when you'll be in a future Eskimo Yo-Yo contest. My name is Chris Kiana. Kiana. Hello, my name is Chris Kiana. This is the intermediate tape on the operations of the Alaska Eskimo Yo-Yo. The first trick or stratagem is what I call loop the foot start. You sit on a chair, extend your leg out like so. Put the orbiters over each side of your foot here, as you can see. Jerk up, vertical Eskimo orbit. Loop the leg, horizontal Eskimo orbit. You do horizontal Eskimo orbit. Get ready to loop your leg, opposite directions, loop your leg, horizontal Eskimo orbit. Self-help, loop the chair legs, horizontal Eskimo orbit. You take and put the orbiters on each side of the chair legs, like so. Get ready to jerk back on the handle. Self-help, loop the chair legs. Pull off, shoulder start. You take your orbiters, put on each side of your shoulders, just over the other side like this. The trick to this is to take and jerk out like this, wait for your orbiters to come out, then do vertical Eskimo orbit. Here we go. This is a side view. Orbiters over your shoulders. Remember, jerk out like this, wait for the orbiters to come out about here, then do vertical Eskimo orbit. Around the world, horizontal Eskimo orbit. You do horizontal Eskimo orbit, go around, around the world, horizontal Eskimo orbit. Dead start, horizontal Eskimo orbit. This is harder than it looks. Hold your orbiters out in front of you like this. Move slowly back and forth. Dead start, horizontal Eskimo orbit. And now a side view. There are 3 basic moves I would like you to remember for review. This is vertical Eskimo orbit. This is overhead Eskimo orbit. And this is horizontal Eskimo orbit. These are going to be 3 very important moves for you to remember. Loop the leg start. You're still sitting in a chair. You take one leg, move it to your side a little bit. You loop the orbiters of the Eskimo Yo-Yo over each side of your leg. Jerk up. Vertical Eskimo orbit. Help, toss, start. You have a friend. Hold orbiters like this. He kind of throws them to you like this, so they go up a little bit into the air, and as a result, you will try to catch the handle and do vertical Eskimo orbit. Help, toss, start. Before, we looped 2 chair legs. This time, we'll loop 1 single chair leg. You place your orbiters around 1 chair leg, jerk back, loop the single chair leg. This is drop 1 orbiter off tabletop start. You put 1 orbiter on the table, pull it out slowly, drop off table start, 1 orbiter. Horizontal Eskimo orbit, hand switch. You assume horizontal Eskimo orbit, switch hands, switch hands, switch hands, horizontal Eskimo orbit, hand switch. Self-help, loop the wrist start. You have a friend, hold his wrist out next to you. Put the orbiters on both sides of his wrist. Grasp the handle. jerk up, self-help, loop the wrist, start. As you operate your Eskimo yo-yo, from time to time, you'll notice your strings will intertwine around each other like this. You take one end, allow the rest of the string to go straight out like so. Then you take your hand. This straightens out your string along the entire length of the Eskimo yo-yo. The Eskimo yo-yo is really very difficult to operate. But once in a while, if you have problems, just get back to the basics, vertical Eskimo orbit. You'll find that this is very unique and relaxing. Then you'll be ready to go on to your next trick. This next one is what I call vertical ptarmigan toss. You hold your orbiters in one hand like this. You throw it into the air and grab the handle or the string near handle and assume vertical Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Ptarmigan toss. Under the table toss start, you can still sit in a chair doing this trick. You hold your orbiters out in front of you. You twirl it around one time, then go toward the edge of the table, the underside of it. The longer orbiter will hit it. Then you move back a little bit and do vertical Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Vertical Eskimo orbit. Twirl around, foot, start. This requires that you sit in a chair. Cross your leg over the other. Extend your orbiters out like so. You twirl it around. The longer orbiter will strike your foot. Then you assume vertical Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Twirl around, foot, start. Drop the bomb, vertical Eskimo orbit. You hold both orbiters out in front of you like this. You release both orbiters at the same time, allowing the Eskimo yo-yo to drop down, catch the handle or string near handle, and do vertical Eskimo orbit. Here we go. Drop the bomb. Loop the fingers, Eskimo orbit flip. Take the Eskimo orbiters on each side of your fingers like this. Jerk outwards. Catch a string or handle and assume vertical Eskimo orbit. Loop the wrist start. This is similar to loop the finger start, but you put your orbiters on each side of your wrist instead. Jerk out. Loop the wrist start. Pull off the wrist start. You take the longer orbiter, extend it over one wrist, holding the handle in the other. You twirl the shorter orbiter around, pull your wrist out, pull off wrist start. You remember in the first tape, I did a vertical twirl around start, similar to this. Now this trick is a little different. I call this the Walrus toss start. You hold it in your operating hand like this, one orbiter, letting it hang down. Take and twirl it around, throw it into the air, catch the string or string near handle, do Walrus toss start. Notice I caught it just off center of this handle. That's okay. The main thing is I have vertical Eskimo orbit. You remember in an earlier trick I had both orbiters loop over your shoulder start. Now this is one orbiter over your shoulder start. Loop over, shoulder, start. Double walrus toss. Remember, I had single walrus toss. It only went one time around before I caught it. This time, it's going to go in 2 circles or revolutions before I catch it and do double walrus toss. Vertical Eskimo orbit, double walrus toss. Remember I did the 360 overhead Eskimo orbit? Well, this is a little different. Do the hand switch 360 overhead Eskimo orbit. Makes it a little harder. Believe me, I know. As you get better with the operation of the Eskimo Yo-Yo, you can really start having fun doing different tricks. This one I call her twirl around, string, flip. You hold the Eskimo Yo-Yo as shown, twirl the orbiters around the string, get to the end, flip it up, catch it, twirl around, string, flip. By now, you have developed a series of single tricks that you probably consider your favorite. The idea here now is to do your single tricks and try to do them continuously. Here we go. Over and under. I'm getting ready to do the figure 8. Watch. Figure 8. Remember, develop your own sequences as you go along. You can have a lot of fun with the Eskimo Yo-Yo and develop manual dexterity in the process. See you the next time. Kiana. That means thank you in Eskimo.
Ay, 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 ay.